They also demanded the transfer of technology. If you're going to transfer all that work over here, we want to go from ground zero all the way. In other words, we want to go from the rubber, the tires, to the plastic, right to the push button stuff, the gadgets that we're putting in these engines. We want to have all the technology. You know the way now modern, it's computer-driven cars, right? Everything is computer. Computer go bad, okay? We want all of that. So that usually in Africa and Asia, the people just let them transfer the work to those people, but not the technology. So China beat them on all. Not only they beat them, but they copied everything. Remember, for several decades, if you wanted to, the only time I cannot get Chinese bootleg movies is now. That just ended a few months back. I don't know if they still have them, but my connection, Tony, a Chinaman, they finished up a few months ago. Remember all of them later? It's all from China. All what nice plastic covers and everything, and I would just copy the covers and copy the thing, and then we had all the modern stuff. China don't have to do that anymore. China copied all your American tape. See, the Americans, look, can you imagine, they'd make all these big blockbuster movies, and they'd send the CDs, DVDs around the world, and the Chinese got them there already. You want, pay $5? No $5. How about $2? Oh, that's much, $1. You know, to the vendors. You think the companies that own the video shops all around, they're gonna pay, you can't tell the difference between the Chinaman stuff and the American stuff, right? Who cares? And you see what a video in America, they have in a store, it'll say $20. 20, and what? 20 bucks. And Bossy, he said, you get $4. Oh, hard money, $3. Me and you, all we together. $3. And you can pay $20 down at the white man's distributor, right? The Chinese ate them alive. When Donald Trump said they ate our lunch, that's true. But it's all legal. It's all we don't. The Chinese government don't control all of that. It's just that whoever do it, right? It just seems well organized and disciplined and high quality and all of that. The Chinese snuck up on the boss man. It's like when I was overseas. The first time I saw it was when I was in Algeria, and I looked at, there was a lot of Japanese traveling. At that time it was the Japanese. And the Japanese was, they had lost World War II, but Japan was getting ready to kick some behind. It's like 71. And I looked around. When I went to Black Africa, they had a squeaky Land Cruiser. It was called Toyota Land Cruiser. Toyota Land Cruiser. But it squeaked and everything. It ran pretty good. And they had them big Leland Land Rovers. Remember them old type Land Rovers that you saw in all the jungle pictures? That was the English made. Right. Look at the Japanese Land Cruiser 10 years later. Boy, that boy is big fat tires. Hey, it'll run like you start it up, it's ready to go, and it'll run till you run out of gas. Okay. In those days, it was the Japanese. And so I was looking at the Japanese, they was bowing. I said, boy, this white man is in trouble. I used the term, and I told it to black nationalists too. I said, the Japanese are whipping this white man up close. They done ducked down and they right on under him. I said, see, the white man ain't never lost nothing. So he don't know what a sucker looked like when you done busted him up. right? And he don't, man, he didn't. And look, by the 80s, the Japanese had just destroyed almost this boy, but he had one more punch in him left. But think about Japan in the 1980s and early 1990s. Everything you bought, the Japanese for a while was buying up everything belonged to America. Then the white man had one more punch, but he don't have that punch that's left. He don't have it in the China. So Deng Xiaoping paid that. Don't be bad to boss man. Oh, just smile. Oh, we Chinamen so oh. And he was doing the Chinese laundry man on it. That's what we call it. They got a lot of laundry men in California. They used to do the laundry, you know. Now they own everything, but that's all right. That's their game. Oh, yeah. You know, you think the Jews are slick. Boy, look, the Chinamen and the Japanese, them Orientals, man, they got their game down. I don't care, all of them got the game down. Cambodians, oh, Vietnamese now, oh, right. They don't care. They get rich, man, all of them. The Asian century is already here. They had already busted boss man up. But his greatest sin was they didn't become communist. The Communist Party is stronger now than it ever was. And now the white man is mad. He's mad, but he's mad and it's too late. Let me put it this way. On the history, we're on the right side of history. We're on when we try to figure out whether this is it or is it the next go round, no, this is it. This is the global transition that everyone has been waiting for. All the sides are lining up, right? Okay, in this TikTok box, whatever they call this, I don't even know what
TikTok app.
TikTok app, what's the other stuff, all that. The white folks, like Murabani said, he said the white man is mad, but he don't have no strategy, right? He's mad and they brought in Don to just destroy everything and hope that they can make a strategy off the destruction. It ain't working. It's not working. What it has is lined everybody up. Number one, the U.S. can use phony stuff like Hong Kong. Hong Kong? What? The U.S. is pro-Hong Kong? Hell, the people in Hong Kong, they come out with clubs, they fight the police, they burn down the whole half of Hong Kong, right? Let them try it over here. The U.S. is, we want freedom. Yeah, you go, you see what he did talking about in Portland, anywhere else, you open your mouth, yeah, you light a firecracker, we're going to blow you away. That's America, and America is talking about, oh, free Hong Kong. And they burning up everything and doing everything. So when China brings a law out saying, well, you can't burn down no more and stuff, oh, that's against freedom. The United States is such hypocrites that they are not even hypocrites. We've got to come up with something new. It's ridiculous. And the other Chinese places like Macau, where they have all the gambling casinos, that was a Portuguese possession. Okay, they fine with all the laws that China enacted on everybody else. They just waited a while for Hong Kong. But it's normal, and it ain't no big deal. It's just say we're federalizing, you can't do that no more. And the U.S. talking about the Uyghurs in China. Oh, we're for you guys. Okay, anytime the U.S. is for somebody, you gotta watch out. You just, you know what? If you don't believe all of what the Chinese say, if you think there's something going on there, get on a damn bus and go down there and see. That's what they say. Go take a look. They said genocide. They said we had a law in China that you can't have but one child. But all the minorities, they said the Uyghurs had 3 million, 4 million people a while back. Now they got 11 million people, so they didn't have those type of restrictions. If it's genocide, right? And then about Muslims, they got other ethnic Chinese, that are Muslims. You ought to see the Arabs and Persians that are going there for big contracts and everything. So if they were so anti-Muslim, and don't forget Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia will scare people like the Chinese to death, like Saudi Arabia did the Russians. You know the Muslims in the southern part of Russia, Chechen. They had all them Salafis going there, and that scared anybody to death. You ain't gonna do that in our neighborhood. You know what I mean? So no, y'all can't do that here. So then is Saudi Arabia that hijacks those good movements. Same thing in China. They hijacked, they had Uyghurs in the penitentiary down there in Florida, not Florida, down in Cuba, right? They had a few. So you gotta watch the Saudi Arabians scaring Chinese. Hey man, so we trying to get the Chinese a message, hey, give everybody, whatever you're doing, give everybody a break, open up new Masjid everywhere, because them guys is trying to scare you. Not that trying to, they are they're scaring you to death. But it's not the Chinese, it's the Saudi Arabians scaring them to death, and then it becomes valid. Like, hey man, they have 2 or 3 of them mess up like they do here. And then they say, hey man, we're trying to make a move, so we can't have that here.
That's right, because the article, I remember reading one article, and they interviewed Chinese who was fighting with ISIS. And it wasn't about Islam.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to go and fight with ISIS to learn how to fight, to go and make a move against China.
Against
that
China?
Was his, that was his intent.
Look at some of those things. Do you remember about 15 years ago that we talked about some of those fighters, and we took a picture of some of those groups? One group that was cutting people's head off, the guys was built a certain way. Remember I was saying, look at them neckline, man. And then I said, and look, one guy is wearing gold chains.
Right.
So remember that? So I said, gold chains, when we work out a lot, the white boys have a certain, you know what I mean? Wait a minute, that neckline, that top of the chest, that boy doing, you can tell the exercises they doing. And the Arabs, you say, just a regular day-to-day revolutionary Arab that have got 1 meal a day, you know what I mean? It's not gonna look like that. He's running around, he might be in shape, but he's not gonna look like that. They gotta be on a military base, they gotta be working out all the time, because to stay like that, you know what I mean, you gotta get back to the gym every now and then. And them boys, I was looking, I said, no, man. That boy checks just sitting up like mine used to a long time ago. I said, them boys is, they working out in a gym.
Right.
And then the next one standing next to him got on gold chains, which of course is haram in Islam. Right. And they supposed to be Salafis, don't work. Okay, so we have known all along. That's why we have to put this whole package together. We haven't done that bad a job, because we outlined from the very beginning, that this would be a protracted struggle. We outlined in the very beginning it would be temporary gains, you know what I mean, in Egypt and other places. We also outlined that it would be unification, you know what I mean, some strategic unification happening, and then it would be a collective vision, a unified vision, a regional vision we call it. And then that regional vision popped up, you know what I mean? And don't forget strategic alliances. Iran used to be by itself. Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Russia, that's serious. And now Yemen, and then parts, when you look at that, Lebanon, they've had such a bad economy. How they got a bad economy? Okay, Lebanon, the whole thing blew up over there. Whoever left that stuff there, it was stupid, but it might have been an agent that left it there all them years. You know how corrupt they might have just left it there. For what? For somebody to come around and start a fire. For that stuff to blow up, you have to have an extended, heated amount of heat to make all that stuff explode. So you can see on the video, they have a hot fire going for a while, and then boom, the thing looks like a miniature subatomic explosion. And it devastates. Hey man, they can say what they want. That looks like the Israelis. I don't care what they say. They can't prove it, that's too bad, that's your problem. But see, we don't believe in old stuff just happened. We believe like design fitna, the world we live in is designed. If they want to get a law against us, the Patriot Act and everything, they people mess up, and the Ramsey, Youssefs and all them and do everything they need, right, to get what they want. Then after they get it, you don't see it anymore hardly, right? And then it disappeared. So they got all of that stuff so that they could do what they wanted to us, and they got it all. The anti-terrorism bill, they got all of that stuff. And now, you don't see any of that stuff going on in it. What happened? Everybody just forgot. They had all that stuff, and then now it's almost disappeared. So the point I'm making is, we're living in a very serious time. In fact, we're living in I would call it, this is the time of the unification of allies. Okay. You have China, the Belt and Road Initiative. You could look at China 10 years ago when they had their Caribbean initiative. You could look at them in Africa. They've been over there for over a decade. They've been building great institutions and all that for the Africans in Africa. Okay, so and then you take the Russians. The Russians is bad in their own way. The only thing is that the Russian economy is a little shallow, but now you have the Chinese and the Russians working in total harmony. They have tours, they call them red tours, where the Chinese go to Russia and they visit those famous places in Russia where the Communist Party did this, and they call it red tours. You know, red communist. They have them, they're popular in China because the Chinese can afford it now. The Russians need the money, they go visit the red tours. The Chinese do right now. India was getting ready to build a couple of Chabar or something, build, you know, they was getting ready to get a Chinese a port in Iran. Then I given them that port. The port is going to China because China and Iran has signed a 25-year agreement. It's a military agreement. It's a whole type of agreement that they have signed. Boy, that is serious rain out there. So they've signed that agreement. They've signed that agreement now, so that if you look in, a brother from Iran came here 2 weeks ago to convince me of something. A big brother, not a big physical, but you know, one of the brothers that I know for 40 years, and that we could talk. I said, so I hear that all the stuff in the markets now are made in China. So what does that mean? That means there's good and bad. But the United States have put a blockade on Iran. But they're still buying oil from China is still buying things from Iran and supplying China with everything that they need. But Iran is sending stuff to Venezuela. Iran is sending stuff, so they're not broke, you know what I mean? In fact, they sending foodstuffs
to Venezuela.
To Venezuela.
Right.
So they'll have a halal market in Venezuela. I mean, the halal food. Well, anything made in Iran is going to be halal. That's right. So they can call it Persian cuisine, this, that, they can call it anything they want, but it's in Venezuela. They're locking up. Now, you can't just say, oh, China and Iran. When I spent time in Iran in the 80s and 90s, the silkworm missile came from China. That's the ship, the missile they would use to hit the big oil things. The Iranians had them. During the war, China was getting stuff from America, but they were supporting the Chinese. I mean, the Chinese were supporting. I would sit next to the Chinese guy, you know, down in the lobby. He would have all the Chinese, all the room, the keys to all the rooms of the Chinese. He would be the coordinator, and he'd have his list, and he would have, you see all the keys and everything, and I used to just watch him. Whenever there was one there, I would watch him to see, because it's his job to coordinate all of it. And the Chinese supported Iran